that we, the farm workers in North Carolina, are been having this oppression throughout generations. This is an inheritance that was passed through other generations in the past, and now, as we see that North Carolina is an agricultural state, there is the labor needed on the fields. And if it is not other races, now it is there are Mexicans on the fields picking tomatoes, picking cucumbers, putting the tobacco for these companies, sweet potatoes, Christmas trees. And what is also important to remark is that there hasn't been an improvement in the agriculture. It is not a problem for us, the farm workers, to see that the farmer is also struggling in the system. The farmer is also being oppressed by these corporations, by contracts they sign. So it is not a problem between the farmer and the farm worker. It is a problem that goes through the supply chain, the economy and the system that these corporations are putting in a way that they can be richer and richer and the poor poorer. So that's why we are starting this campaign against JP Morgan Chase, because this is the biggest lender of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. And so, since R.J. Reynolds does not want to talk with FLAG, does not want to talk with the representation of the workers, now we're going after JP Morgan Chase to press them to help us to have a meeting. That's what we want right now, a meeting and to dialogue with Susan Ivey, CEO of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, about the mistreatment, the human and labor rights in the fields of North Carolina.
Can you describe some of the mistreatment for us?
Yeah.
How many workers are we talking about? How big is the...
Yeah, okay. The overview is there are around 40,000 workers in the tobacco fields. 10,000 workers are coming under the H-2A guest worker program. That's a visa that allows citizens of other countries to come to work in the agricultural industry. But 30,000 workers are undocumented. They go to Florida, they go to Ohio, then in the tobacco season they go to North Carolina. And these undocumented workers are afraid of being deported, afraid of being fired, so they are just afraid of doing something for themselves because of their immigration status. So that is why we link the workplace rights with the immigration reform buried together that is going to allow these workers to speak up and to improve their conditions in the fields. The housing, everything is on the job. It is really nice in the books, it is really nice on the law, but how can we make a mechanism in order to implement and enforce that law? How can could we go in the fields when the workers are working in the fields and there is pesticides and fungicides and there are herbicides on the fields spraying on the workers? If the worker is working and they want to work, they don't have any phone number with them to report to the Department of Agriculture what is going on in the field because they are afraid. So that's why R.J. Reynolds is saying, oh, I made a survey on the fields and every worker is happy. They are so happy that they're working and there are no violations of human and labor rights. Yeah, but because they are afraid, they are not going to be able to talk. That's why we, the representatives of FLAG, the representatives of the workers in the fields, have gone to these companies to talk for the workers. But we are empowering our migrant community in North Carolina in order for them to speak up. We're going to church to talk to union leaders, church leaders. We have gone to the National Council of Churches. We're looking for the support of the AFL-CIO to join this cause together, because it is not possible that we are now in the 21st century facing these slave-like conditions, still facing these conditions. What happened with the 14th Amendment? What happened with the 4th Amendment? What happened with this Civil War? With the inheritance that we have right now in the books, but it's not yet enforced to the human beings that are working in the fields, not only in North Carolina, but in all the country and probably in the world. How can we demonstrate that the United States of America is a country of law, of rights, that could show the example of the world?
And what does it mean for you to, for example, today to get the support of a labor leader like Bob King from the United Auto Workers?
It's impressive. I mean, it is well established that we have a common denominator, and it is the greed of these big corporations on their policies on Wall Street, and they're controlling Washington. They're controlling our lives, and it's not possible that all the workers in the United States of America have a common denominator faced by these big corporations in order to improve our conditions as human beings. All the workers face the same problems, and if we come together, if we make this coalition bigger and stronger, then we'll have a better result.
Do you see this as being intertwined with the fight for immigration reform and a path to citizenship?
as I said before, 30,000 workers in the tobacco fields of North Carolina are undocumented. In order to improve their condition, in order to improve their human beings' status, we have to find a way that it is like the economy can run all over the world. We are in a globalized world. The money can go from U.S. to China with no problems. The money can go from the U.S. to South America with no problem. From Mexico to the U.S. with no problems. Oil with no problems. But human beings are problems. So people say that immigrants here in the United States are stealing jobs from the domestic workers. But first of all, we see an education level, different education levels. So there's no competence on that. Then we see people working in the fields where no domestic workers want to do that job in the fields. So we have seen places where nobody else wants to do the job, so there's an open work that allows another person to come and do the work that is needed in order to improve the economy of the United States. So that is an economic tendency. And that's after NAFTA, the North America Free Trade Agreement, broke these growers in Mexico. This is other treatments in the world that allows the money to go freely, but establishes a way that limits the humans to go from one side to another. And that is an economic tendency. So that's why workers are coming to the U.S., because there is no work in Mexico. There is no way to find a better life in Mexico, and they follow the American dream. But they find other issues that are not like the American dream or our ancestors passed here in order to have this great country. But we still have to face these injustices in order to bring these corporations on the table and to find creative solutions to the problems.
And what kind of